And our fourth main topic today gets submitted to us by Geeky Gator, who writes, "Hey, John and crew. Very soon after her flop with Charlie's Angels, Elizabeth Banks has been hired to direct and star in an Invisible Woman movie. Do you think the combination of gender bending the role and Banks makes for a bad movie idea for this dark universe trying to resurrect itself?" All right, thanks for sending that in. And yeah, for those of you who may not have heard, Elizabeth Banks has been signed on by Universal to direct and star in an Invisible Woman movie. Now, one of the things that's really going to be important to keep in mind here regarding this whole story is that this isn't a gender bend. Like, because some of you might be understandably saying right now, wait a minute, didn't we just get a trailer for The Invisible Man? They're already doing a gender. Well, actually, this isn't based on that. This is actually based on a 1940s movie, The Invisible Woman. That's what they're basing this on. Anyway, the story comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter that's talking about this. And Elizabeth Banks. I love her. Anyway. Erin Cressida Wilson has penned the script for this. She's writing the script for The Invisible Woman. My one big worry about that is that The Girl on the Train was not good.
No.
That movie had a lot of promise. And that movie was not good, so I don't know if that was script or if that was direction or whatever. But anyway, Elizabeth Banks will be given form to The Invisible Woman. Banks is developing an original take based on the classic Universal title and is attached to star and direct the feature project. She will also be producing along with her husband, Max Handelman, via the duo's Brownstone Productions. This is the key part. The 1940 original was centered on a department store model who becomes the test subject of an invisibility experiment. Upon becoming invisible, she gets back against her mean boss, but unwittingly falls into the caper involving gangsters. Now, it goes on to say that unlike the other original Invisible Man movies, which was kind of borderline horror movies, this was more of a kind of a comedy in that sense. And whether or not they decide to bring those sensibilities back into this, we'll have to wait and see whether they're going to go comedy or not. Rob, we're just getting out of seeing her doing Charlie's Angels, which was a big financial flop. But one thing I've said, I've always been concerned about Elizabeth Banks as a director because I haven't been thrilled with her as a director. And even though I was let down by Charlie's Angels, I thought I saw marked improvement in her directing. So I'm seeing her improving as a director. I'm seeing her getting better. But what do you think about the overall idea about them moving forward? They did just put out a trailer for Invisible Man, and now they're already they're getting into production on Invisible Woman too soon. Wrong match, wrong idea for a movie. Great idea, hopping on. How do you see this?
Well, first of all, I like Elizabeth Banks. I think she's an up-and-coming talent, and why derail her career because a movie that I mean, it's not like somebody said that it's completely incompetently directed. I think the whole idea behind it was where it was flawed. I think Elizabeth Banks probably acquitted herself admirably and what she's directed before and her involvement with the Pitch Perfect series. This film, like The Invisible Man, I don't know if it's being done by Blumhouse or not, but they keep the budget down. She has a good idea for it. Elizabeth Banks is bankable as a star and as a filmmaker. And you could probably get something that has the potential to be a franchise picture. Obviously, Universal jumped at the idea. They like the script. They like the package that's put together. And it makes sense to me. I mean, there are very few people. What people don't get about the movie business is that there are very few people that studios trust to actually direct a studio picture. And what I mean by that is I'm not talking about being an auteur like a Martin Scorsese, but somebody that can actually competently direct a studio movie with all the concerns that they have. There's not that many. You'd think there'd be a lot, but there really aren't. And Elizabeth Banks has become one of those people. She's beloved in the industry. Actors like her, executives like her. So I want to see her career continue, and hopefully she'll become the world-class filmmaker I think she can become, and I think she's smart. She's coming off of financial disappointment. She's going to go in and make a movie that's probably plays to her strengths. She has a much better idea. It's something she's shepherding probably. And I think it's not going to cost a lot. And I'll bet, look, that trailer for Invisible Man was dope. I loved it.
No, the trailer was wonderful.
I mean, coming off of Upgrade, Lee Whannell's last film, I'm really looking forward to that. And I think this movie could be quite good. The idea of a beautiful woman being invisible, the possibilities, John. I want to see that.
I'll tell you what. I have my apprehensions about this project. I do. My apprehension is not Elizabeth Banks as an actress. I'm a big fan of her as an actress.
Yeah.
I love seeing her in just about everything. I'm a much bigger fan of Elizabeth Banks as an actress than I am as a director so far. I think she's made progress. She's still not in my top, say, 50 working directors today at this point. Could she get there? She could. But I'm a much bigger fan of her as an actress, so I'm all for that. The directing thing I'm a little bit curious about. But here's the part for me, Rob, that makes it a little bit more concerning. And that part is simply this. Universal Studios is coming off of, and the wounds are still fresh, one of the most humiliating, embarrassing disasters of a Hollywood experiment in history with their Monsters universe that they were calling the Dark Universe, that they were putting out all these magazine spreads and photo ops and look at all these stars. These are all the movies we're doing, blah, 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 blah. And they got way ahead of themselves. The first movie came out. I didn't hate Mummy. I got a bit of a kick out of Mummy. It wasn't a great movie, but I got a bit of a kick. But just because I didn't mind it, it was received disastrously by a lot of critics. And it did not do the business of the box office that they were thinking it would. And all of a sudden, this grand experiment they had of this big Monsters universe all blew up in their face, and the wounds are still fresh. When I see this, my main concern, I'm not saying it can't work, but my main concern right now, Rob, is has Universal learned nothing about getting ahead of yourself? They just put out a trailer for Invisible Man. And it looks good. It looks real good, as a matter of fact. But perhaps, as you're still licking your wounds, maybe the right approach here is, you know what? We got this idea for this. Why don't we shelf that for now? Let's take this Invisible Woman idea. Let's put it on the shelf, well within our eyesight. We'll keep our eyes on it. But why don't we see how this movie does? We thought Mummy was going to do all this stuff, and it blew up on our face. And it humiliated us. Why would they do this now? So I'll tell you what, Rob, if I'm an executive in the boardrooms at Universal, and Universal thanks their lucky stars every day that I am not, because they would have gone out of business a long time ago. But if I were executive at Universal right now, I'm saying, guys, let's pump the brakes on this for now. It might be a great idea. So let's not throw it away. Let's come back and revisit it. But maybe this isn't the right time. Maybe. I mean, we just got humiliated doing this sort of thing. So, Rob, isn't there an element here that maybe a little bit of patience might be in order here? I don't know. How would you respond to that?
I don't know, man. I mean, Universal is doing pretty well with their Blumhouse model. You make movies for $20 million or less. You know, The Mummy was a big, expensive, A-list star Hollywood project. You saw those pictures with Johnny Depp and Russell Crowe and all the people that were going to be in the Dark Universe. I mean, I'm sure they laid out a ton of money.
Javier Bardem.
They probably laid out more money to start the Dark Universe than the entire budget of both Invisible Man and this upcoming Invisible Woman put together. So I would imagine that they've seen Invisible Man. They know they're probably very, very happy with it. You've got a world-class actress in Elizabeth Moss. I mean, she's not an A-list theatrical draw yet, but her television credibility is through the roof.
And the trophies on her mantle are growing.
And yes, and I really enjoy her as a presence, and I think that clearly she looks like she's doing A-list work in The Invisible Man, at least based on the trailer. I think Universal knows something. They're pretty confident, and they probably are confident in the story. And if it goes and fits their model, they're going to get a movie that doesn't cost a whole lot, that has a lot of profit potential. And I think that's why they're doing it. Because I think because they've been burned, they've pulled back, and I think it's really interesting. I mean, I'd love to see Bill Condon's Bride of Frankenstein. I know that was a passion project. That was the first casualty of the end of the Dark Universe. And I'm hoping that Lee Whannell's Invisible Man make them on a budget, which is what I thought they should have done in the first place. You know, the Universal Monster stories are not big apocalyptic world-ending stories.
Right.
The classic monster stories were full of pathos and humanity, and they were real. They were almost like dramas, you know, with a lot of horror elements. And when I'm like, wow, you're making a movie like a Julia Roberts thriller from the early 90s where she's being stalked by her ex. That's what this Invisible Man movie looks like, except the stalker's invisible. And I'm like, oh, I'm in. I mean, I'll watch that. And I think if they concentrate on that. They could really have something. And if you make movies for $20 million, theatrically release them like what they did with Shyamalan and what they did, Blumhouse did with like Halloween, and you end up making $200 million, that's pretty good.
It's a great day for everybody. All right, guys. Question is, what do you think about this? Rob points out a lot of potential upside. I've mentioned a couple things that make me a little bit nervous about it. Question is, how do you guys see it? Jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts.